now invite Chief Constable Roberts to address us.
In many ways, it's strange that I'm standing here today because I didn't want to be a police officer. When I joined the constabulary in 1984, accidentally as it transpired, I certainly did not have any ambition to become the Chief Constable. Indeed, in the mid-1980s, if someone had harboured an ambition to be the Chief Constable, they would have been marked out as being completely mad. Getting here, I think, shows the considerable benefits of being able to duck and dive. I too have recently reread George Turnbull's History of the Isle of Man Constabulary. I did so because this year marks the 150th anniversary of the formation of the force. On the 13th of September 1863, 4 forces were brought together into one. I suppose the rest is history. However, anyone reading the book will realise how difficult life was on the island in those days and how hard it was for the constabulary to become the professional organisation that it has developed into. If I may indulge myself, one of my favourite stories from the early days concerns Sergeant William Hollinrake and his horse. Sergeant Hollinrake was the first mounted officer, and his job each week was to visit every station on the island and investigate crime. He was actually also the first detective of the force, not Dudley Butt, as many of us would have thought. The problem for Sergeant Hollinrake came when his horse went lame, and the Chief Constable of the day was unable to afford a new one until he sold the lame beast. It took several months for Sergeant Hollinrake to do so, and eventually he duped someone into buying the animal and was able to resume his duties. I can detect a certain budgetary resonance to that story. The fact that we have a thriving, professional, dedicated police force is testament to the efforts of well over 1,000 people who have been police officers in this island, as well as many hundreds of special constables, members of support staff, and latterly community volunteers. I feel today as if I'm standing on their shoulders. Most of the police officers gave the best years of their lives to the police, and indeed some of them even lost their lives in service. Every one of them will have made sacrifices, and those sacrifices will undoubtedly have been equally borne by their families. I have no doubt that Jackie, Lauren and Rebecca are long suffering, and I could not have achieved anything without their love and support. As you alluded, Your Honour, it could be said that my appointment has significance for the island as a jurisdiction. Until comparatively recently, the Chief Constable had to seek the permission of the Lieutenant Governor before promoting officers. And I have little doubt that some of the officers who've gone before me were denied some of the opportunities that I have had because of a perceived need to import talent from the United Kingdom. My appointment should send out a message, particularly to the young people of the Isle of Man, that this is a place where you can fulfil your potential. Returning to history, one of my recent predecessors said that it was important never to look backwards. I believe that he was wrong. The strength of the constabulary lies in its deepest traditions: service, proximity to the community, decency and fairness, having high standards and genuinely caring about the people of the Isle of Man. I will make sure that no one in the constabulary forgets about those traditions. They are vitally important for us to help keep building a better constabulary and a better island. I wanted to make sure that the people who represent those traditions are here today, and looking around the room, I see a cross-section of friends and colleagues who embody those traditions. Sadly, some people I wanted to be here couldn't be here today, and I could have invited dozens of people who embodied those traditions, because the Isle of Man has had some terrific people over the years. I'm also privileged to have here today my friend Hector Duff, a remarkable man who served in the constabulary for 30 years and who was deservedly awarded the British Empire Medal in the New Year's Honours List. And my immediate predecessor, Mike Langdon, who inspired so many of us in the constabulary and who now has as many medals as a Russian admiral. After his welcome award last week of the OBE, he becomes a harder act to follow by the week. It may be of some comfort to know that I now have a personal assistant who can check on my dress before I come out, and she confirmed today that I was dressed properly. I do not take my oath lightly. The next 5 years will not be easy. Doing more for less and doing it with police officers who have been bruised by changes to their pay, conditions of service and pensions will be a challenge. I owe it to the men and women of the constabulary to make sure that I give them the right leadership to allow them to deliver the policing that the people of this wonderful island deserve. That will come from a constabulary that fearlessly upholds the law, and protects fundamental human rights, that is trusted by the public, and that keeps improving in every way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Constable Roberts. In closing these proceedings, I thank you all once again for attending to witness the swearing in of Chief Constable Gary Roberts. This is a special day for him, his family, his friends, and his colleagues. His success is their success. It is also a very special day for the Isle of Man. One of our own has become the Chief Constable of our island. We should all be proud of that appointment, which evidences the increasing maturity and internal independence of this island.